I think that we should be more open towards immigration. I believe that the immigration process should be simplified. I believe it should be much easier. I believe that everyone should be granted equal access to take part in the opportunities we have here in this country. I can't say that I believe in a completely open border, no monitoring policy. I'm not just immediately for letting everyone in. Because of course, with any sort of group coming in, you have your reputable characters, you have irreputable characters. It's not more concentrated with people from one group or from another. I just think that we should be careful in examining who we're letting in based on a legal perspective and based on an ethical perspective instead of where they're coming from in general.
My sister was born in Nigeria. They came to New York, and it took her over 20 years to get a green card. Really? 20 years?
Yeah.
Why should it take me 20 years to get a green card? I need to work in this country. I need to provide for my family. There's no way it should take 20 years for me to get a card that states that I'm a U.S. citizen. That's ridiculous to me. They need to simplify this so that, you know, people who do come over here can do things legally. That way there won't be illegal immigrants.
The DREAM Act would be a good thing, not just for Hispanics, but also
for everybody.
Immigrants. Yeah.
If people want to come to this country, let them come, but let them do it on legal terms. There wouldn't be illegal immigrants, and they wouldn't go through the illegal process if the process wasn't so strenuous in the first place. It shouldn't take someone 20 years to get a green card. What? Why? There needs to be transparency on why it takes so long and why you have to go through all that in the first place. That's ridiculous to me.
In general, I think that immigration just needs to be more regulated. I feel like people should have better opportunities being able to come here, because I know how it is in other countries,
right.
And that's not fair for them not to be able to have the same opportunities that we do. So I don't think they should completely, it is an issue, but it just needs to be more, I wouldn't say restricted, but have more policies to make sure that we're getting the right people in this country and not just abolish it completely.
And they pass a basic citizenship test, but then I believe everyone should pass a basic citizenship test. You know, I mean, my family's been here since the 1700s, but I think I should have had to take one. But that's just me.
Well, I don't think it really matters whether it's Democratic or Republican. I think that there needs to be an overall consensus, because whether you're talking about Democrats or Republicans, I personally don't believe they not don't care, but like they all are in cahoots with each other. So at the end of the day, it's really up to the people what the people want. If the people will stand up for their rights and stand up for what they believe in, it wouldn't matter what Congress says, because the people aren't going to tolerate it. So it's up to the people to have a voice. And we're never going to have a voice if we keep living in fear of what's going to happen. We need to just stand up and act. Because if we don't, we're going to keep living in the same cycle.
So it's like unite, stand up, and act.
Everyone just has to unite.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter what the content of the bill is. It just matters how most people would perceive the name.
Right.
And, you know, if they describe the bill in one or two sentences. And I think when you look at the Republican Party more so than the Democratic Party, they're very big fans of responding only at the face value of something and not considering long-term implications or the deeper implications of the subject. So since that's the general trend to me with Republican politicians, not necessarily Republican voters, absolutely, they're going to turn down. The last thing they want is anything that can be thrown in their face at the next re-election campaign in a 30-minute television commercial. That's what matters. So if they voted for this as a Republican, in the next primary, their opponent would throw this in their face, saying he voted to give illegal immigrants more rights. That's how they would say it. So that's all they care about. So yeah, I feel like it would be much more difficult to get them to vote for this. You would have to get a decision from party leadership if you wanted something like that passed.
Like in France, they didn't stand for tyranny. Everyone in France, they stormed the Versailles. They stood up for their rights. They would fight. To this day, there's no way that a law can be passed in legislation in France unless the people want it. So we need to stand up and act right now.
So not just immigration reform in general, but like
everything.
Government reform.
Government reform. If people would just start acting afraid and speak out like the students are doing here, we're the future. If we just keep on fighting and keep standing up, ears are going to open. And not only will the government heed to what we want, but everyone around won't tolerate it and will stand up and fight with us. That's what needs to happen.
Instead of using the term illegal immigrants, would you lean more towards saying, in a politically correct society, would you lean more towards saying undocumented immigrant?
No, because it's still illegal for them to enter the United States.
Right.
So it is illegal, and I don't want to change the terminology really because it sounds better the other way. I believe in accuracy,
Right.
and I believe, especially with politicians, you need to be concerned about accuracy
Right.
because they're big fans of changing wording to try and make things sound better without actually doing anything. Do I feel that they should be more considered undocumented workers rather than illegal immigrants? Yes. But until they treat them that way, I wouldn't call them that. You don't want to desensitize an issue, make it sound better, because then people will take the issue less seriously while the problem remains.
I think that there is no reason to bar people with good intentions from maximizing their opportunities.
Because illegal has the connotation of something criminal.
Something criminal, yeah. And I see people that I know who are proponents of strict immigration laws saying that they're retroactively basing their logic, saying that illegal immigration is wrong because it's illegal. I mean, I don't think that's a solid premise.
You're defining it with the word,
Right, you're defining it by itself, and that's just... That's not a proper way to determine legality. That's not a proper way to go about any sort of social situation.
What makes someone American?
I think an American is someone who, A, recognizes himself as American, B, would be someone who has lived here a certain amount of time, I would say at least 6 to 10 years, and someone who can, well, maybe not necessarily sharing, can recognize and understand a variety of, I would say actually the majority of American general beliefs and American issues.
What is an American?
What is an American?
Like, how would you define someone who is American?
I'd say someone who stands up for what they believe in, someone who gives back to their community, someone who's hardworking, driven, someone who wants to contribute to this world as a whole and leave a legacy behind through their children or through their family. And I think someone who has an understanding of their God-given right to live. I think that's what an American is.